Hello and welcome to my channel for all things ServiceNow. On this video we're going to play around with Flow Designer, specifically how to create an action and look a bit about what this word scope actually means. Now before we get started, firstly I do want to thank everyone who has subscribed so far and all the lovely comments that have been made. These certainly give me encouragement to keep making these videos for you guys. That being said, I do have to apologise. This is my first video in a few weeks. You know, a quick family staycation and some unsurprisingly nice weather was there to enjoy, so apologies. Right, let's get started. So we're going to build on a workflow that we created in a previous video. If you haven't seen that yet, give it a quick watch by clicking on the card at the top here. So firstly, let's see what this workflow does and what action we're going to be adding to it. So let's head on over to Flow Designer and let's just quickly look at that flow. So this flow is a flow we created in a previous video. As I said before, I'll drop a link in the description so you can go and check that out. It's worth checking that out because I know I did have a few comments around it was useful to see how stages are added to flows that are created for catalog items, and that's proved quite useful for a few people. So worth checking that out. But this flow is initiated when a catalog item, which is for a BMW 3 Series, is created. And let's have a look at quickly what it does. So we get it initiates, we get some catalog variables, we update the record, we ask for approval from the person's line manager. If it's not approved, then we send an email and cancel the record, close the record. If it is approved, then we create a catalog task and then we close the record. Very, very simple. There is one thing in here that I mentioned in the Flow Designer video I've done previously around the send email. Now, Flow Designer comes with this out-the-box action, I'm going to call it, to send an email. And if we think about the previous or the legacy workflow, we've also got an action in there or an activity we can use to send an email. Personally, and this is just a personal preference, I don't really like that. From an administrative point of view, I just feel that there's too many places to administer notifications. And if you're looking to improve one, enhance it, debug notifications, for example, from an admin point of view, you've got 3 places to go, and I just don't like that idea. So what I try and tend to do is I'll create an event activity, and I'll create an event obviously, and I'll trigger the notification based on that event, which means all the notifications are then in one table. So that's where I'm going to go to amend them. Plus you get more functionality on there. You can use things like templates as well. Let me know if that's what other people do. Let me know if you think I'm wrong and that you prefer using the actions in there. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. It's just a personal preference, and it's a good way to show you how to set up an action. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to remove this send email and we're going to create a create event action. Now bizarrely, ServiceNow out the box, and I think it's bizarre anyway, ServiceNow out the box don't come with a create event action, which I would have thought that'd be pretty useful, but it's great for us because we're going to create one now. So let's go and do that. So if we head on over to Flow Designer Home and we click actions, so we can create, I'm going to create this one first, test action. Now if I was to create this would be in the application global. So if I just submit, we're not going to put anything in it at the minute, I just want to show you something. So if we then go back to our flow, so we've just created a really basic action with nothing in it, but we've done it in the global application, the global scope. So then, if we go to our activity in Flow Designer, click action, on the left hand side we see these things called installed spokes. Now when ServiceNow first started with Flow Designer and came up with this, or had this term spokes, it caused quite a lot of confusion, and something that I saw is people were afraid to ask of what does it actually mean, right? And I think most people know what it means now, but I'm just gonna mention it because I know right at the, when it first began, it was one of those conversations that was had quite regularly. Spokes, quite simply, is a scoped application in ServiceNow that contains Flow Designer content, and it's all grouped together. That's pretty much it. So if we look down here, it says installed spokes. So there's an application on here for ITSM, which has got all the Flow Designer stuff within it. We've got global here. So if I select global, we're going to see test action. Okay, so that when we create that action, we created it inside the global application, which means inside the global spoke. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to create our application and we're going to add the action to that. So let's head on over to the studio and create an application. Now, I haven't done a video on creating an application as yet. I think I probably will, but this isn't that video, so I'm going to whiz through this pretty fast. So we're going to call it, what should we call it? Test actions. Not a great name, but you get the point. It's an application. Make it classic. We're not going to create any roles or tables with it. We just want to start using it pretty quickly. Just refresh. Okay, test actions. So now we've created our application, we're going to head on back to Flow Designer and we're going to create an action. Now what you'll see is the application on the right hand side here has automatically put me in my new scope, test actions. So we're going to go ahead and create an event action. Again, I'm going to quickly publish this just so I can show you. I'll head back to our flow. And down here, when we go to select action, what do we call it? Test actions, did we? Test actions, and there we go. So now we've got a scope, or a spoke, if you will, called test actions. Now, of course, we can call that something more meaningful. The point is I want to show you that it's an application with Flow Designer content in. When we select that, on the right hand side, or in the middle, will show us these actions. Now we're not going to select that just yet. There's a few things we need to do here. So when we create the action, we want to send something from the flow itself into this action. We want some inputs in there. So we need to go ahead and create those. And we're going to create an event, so we need to know what the event is called. We need to know what the record is we're triggering this event on. We need to be able to send event parameters. And if we want to, we could send it into a queue. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. So those are inputs. And now we need to go and create the script action itself. So we've got our inputs. This is what we're going to send in from the flow. And then we need to create the activity that's going to happen. So we click on, that was a bit fast, wasn't it? There's a little plus icon there, add a new step. And we're going to use script. There's multiple things we could do. You know, wait for conditions, ask for approvals, payload builders. There's a lot in here. That's not going to help us with creating an event. So we're going to add in a script step. We can rename it here, create event, or let's call it trigger event. There we go. We need to put in some input variables, but first of all we're going to do this code first here. So all we're going to do is, if you've ever triggered an event from within a script within ServiceNow, so perhaps on a business rule or a script include that you've triggered an event for some other activity to happen or even a notification, we're simply going to use that. TS event queue. Nice little feature there where when I start typing it comes up, and we're going to put in the parameters that we need to pass this this method. So they're going to be event name, we want the record, the parameter 1, parameter 2, and the queue. Now we haven't finished with that. I just wanted to show you that is exactly the same as we've always done within business rules. So we need to create the inputs into this action itself. So what we're going to do here is we're going to call this event name. We need another one. We can just copy these. Look, record, another one, palm 1, another one, palm 2, and then the queue. Okay, and then let's assign them the value. So what we do here is we pick our data picker, or we could select them here. So let's do a mixture. So data picker, event name, record, record, event palm 1, event palm 1, event palm 2, event palm 2, queue. I've just done a mixture to show you can do it different ways, but that was very, very fast. So what that's saying is the input into the action itself can then feed into one of the steps. Okay, and that's what we've just done here. So now when we created our script down here, we need to, is that going to work? No, it's not. Because what we need to do is find the input object. So we need to go inputs dot input. I'm not going to say it again, it's the same. Okay. So there we go. So I just wanted to show you that. So if I'd have done this the other way around and wrote the script afterwards, when I put in inputs, it then and put dot, it then tells me all the attributes I've got within that object that I could select. So it's just a case of tab. Okay. So there we go. So we've got our inputs into this action, and all we're doing here is one line triggering an event. So let's save. We're going to keep this action really, really simple. What we could do is, just as we've got inputs coming in here, we'd have got outputs here. So we could assign values to an output, and then what we'd do is we'd create the output variables there, and then we'd have assign outputs here on the outputs tab. But we don't need to do that here. We're just going to trigger the event. There's nothing we need back into that workflow to then consume and do stuff with. So we're going to keep it really, really simple. Inputs, one step, one line, trigger the event. So let's publish that. What we need to do now is go and create an event. So let's go and do that. Go into event registry. I'm just going to be really quick at this. Call it test email. I'll do. The table is going to be the request item table, fired by Flow Designer BMW, triggers email. That'll do for me. Save that. So the event name is this. Okay. So then, now we've published and saved our create event, we can then come in here. We can add our action. We find, and I forgot what did we call it? Test something. Test actions. Create an event. And there we go. Here are all our inputs. So we need the event name, which is that. The record itself is that. We're not going to bother with any event palm 1, 2, but you could see that we could script it. We could use some script to get our event palm 1 or 2. There we go. We can manually type that in, or we don't need to push them in at all. So we're going to click save, and we're going to move this to here. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to remove the email that we had before. Okay. And in fact, what we're actually going to do is we're going to put in another one, another create event. We could go test actions, create event. Have I still got it saved? I have. Excellent. Right. record, picking the record, and we're going to put that after the approved. So whereas before we had a send email action that said it's not been approved, we've just done a create event for if it has been approved or if it hasn't been approved. And we can add some annotations to this, so we could say send nice email, and to this one we could say send grumpy email. Okay, so one's going to say your request has been approved, the other one can say your request has been denied. Okay, and one of the things we could actually do, thinking about it, is we could use the approval state, either approved or rejected, as one of the event palm ones if we really wanted to, and pass that through. So let's save that, and let's go ahead and create a notification. Again, we're going to keep it really simple. He says, if I can type it, here we go. Notifications, create new. I'm just going to call it test. This is not a tutorial on creating notifications, so don't follow exactly what I'm doing here. And the event was called, does anyone remember? Let's go back. The event was called X4 something. X4, that looks like it to me. Who will receive? Well, let's say it will be the requested for. Yeah, the requested for in this case. Okay, the requested for. Let's go with that. What will it contain? Test subject. Your will be nice. Hello. Your request has been. Request has been. And let's find the approval status. There we go. Your request has been something. Full stop. Okay. Okay, so what have we done? We've created an event action within an application. We've created an event. We're going to trigger that event, and we've also created a notification which is going to be sent based on that trigger. Okay, so let's go and give it a whirl. Let's activate this. Should we do happy path? Yeah, let's do happy path. Let's do everything's been approved. So while that's working, I'm going to go to the portal itself. Portals. Which one am I using? This one. Okay, request something. Let's go and find out BMW. Here it is, BMW 3 Series. Again, I think I said before, if you haven't seen the series of videos that help us create this, that use variable sets and glide Ajax and UI scripts actually, then I'll put some links in the description as well so you can go and follow those. So we select those, click submit. While that's submitting, we best head over to the, I can't type today, over to the request item table. Here we go. Okay, so that's waiting for approval. And it shows our flow context there so we can see it. So that's waiting for approval. So if we then select approved, probably need to refresh. And as I haven't got emails turned on this, we might not see them here, but we'll go into the email table and have a look. One of the things I do like to do as well is if you do want to follow this this context, you can come to the Flow Designer here, click on this, go to executions, and that will show you all the executions of that particular flow. So we can see we've gone down happy path, so it's now awaiting for the catalog task has been created. We're waiting for that to be completed, but it's also told us that this event has been triggered. So now if we come over to requests, yeah, I haven't got email sent, so we're not going to see it in the activities log. So let's go into the table. So if we go into the emails log, so we can see here test subject. This is our notification. It's going to Abel, who was the requester in this instance, and if we preview the notification, we now have, hello, your request has been approved. Excellent. So what's happening, just to rewind and go over it again, we've used an existing flow on a catalog item that we've done before. We've created a new application, or in context of, I guess, Flow Designer, spoke, and we've added some actions to that spoke in the terms of create event. We've registered our event in the event registry, and we're triggering a notification based on that event. So that's it, guys. If you like what you've seen today, or if you've got any questions, drop a like in, drop some comments in. If you want to see more, again, put some suggestions on what content you want to see. I've already got a few ideas, which is great. And lastly, subscribe.